Eston Dunn, also known as E. Robert Dunn. I was just interviewed by Keith Andrew, and I'd like to say, Keith, keep up the good work.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Keith Andrew, and you're watching Season 12. That's right, Season 12, Episode 1192, also known as Season 12, Episode 92. It's Friday night, and if you're a fan of WWE SmackDown, available on the USA Network, Peacock, and Netflix, make sure to definitely check out SmackDown. As we're talking, we have fireworks going off in the background because we are very close to our goal of 1,100 and 200 episodes. That's coming very soon, but we're in a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of days actually, depends on how many people we get. We will start Season 13. That's right. It's very soon. Season 13 will be available on YouTube. So like, share, and subscribe. First subject I want to talk about is icebreakers. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself and the type of work that you do.
Well, currently I'm a college professor. I teach at two different colleges. Welcome to the New America and the New Economy. So at one college, I teach biomedical science, and then at another college, I teach massage therapy. So those are my two mainstay occupations. I also do part-time work within continuing education for allied health. And then in my free time, I'm a published author, playwright, screenwrite, do a little bit of acting. You know, the artist in me I just can't get rid of it. So I do one set of things to pay the bills and another set of things to keep my sanity.
I agree. You have to be passionate about what you do. If you're not passionate, you're just wasting time and you're setting yourself up for failure. I should know. Yeah. I did that. Should be a title of a book. Setting yourself up for failure. I've been doing things half-ass most of my life, but at a certain point, you're either going to do it right or you're not going to do it at all.
Yeah, that's true. Otherwise, you're dead inside.
No, I agree with you. Now, before we get to your writing and your acting, one thing that caught my interest, you have your own company. What can you tell us about it?
Well, I have a for-profit called Dunn Outright Incorporated, and I did that under the advice of an accountant who says, you're doing all these diverse things. You should be incorporated for tax purposes and also just, to have some legitimacy. So that's what Dunn Outright Incorporated is. It's where I do my writing. I do my continuing education under that. And then I have a for-profit called Watch Out Web Charities. And that is for the performing arts. And I put that together here in South Florida because it's a cultural wasteland. For the most part, everything's trucked in. All the Broadway shows, everything is brought in. We don't really have things that are exported as far as the arts. And what little we have here, to be blunt, is very nepotistic. And unless you're in with the right crowd, and I've never been one of those type of people, nothing will get looked at. So I kind of put that together for the island of misfit toy artists that just don't fit in with that little select crowd. And so we help raise money to premiere up and coming artists as well as those that are still struggling. Because as an artist, you're always struggling. You're always on the breadline at some point. And to create our own work that we hopefully can export to other cities as much as we import it here in South Florida. So those are my two main companies, if you will.
And I do have some ideas I'd like to talk to you about off the air. But the next one I want to talk to you about is the same question without repeating it twice. What is difficult about being an actor for you? And I might as well say it anyway. I said I wasn't going to, but might as
Go
well.
ahead.
What is difficult about being an actor for you, and what's difficult about being a writer for you?
Well, the arts are difficult in the United States because the arts are not appreciated. We're cut out of school programs where we don't get the same umph that athletics get, that um, certain careers get. Just like teaching, teaching's not appreciated here. You're underpaid, you're overworked. Um, and in the arts, you're kind of like a free agent. It's not like you can go to the school to go to school. Let's say you go to school to learn how to be an actor, and then you have scouts that are looking for you. Like in athletics, you don't have scouts coming to your performances, and then after a performance, they come after and say, you know what? I want to sign you up, and we're going to get you into these movies. Unlike athletics, you have people come that scout you and say, I want you to join this team, and we're going to take you to the next level. We just don't do that in this country. So you're not really given any help. You're kind of like saying you want to be an actor, good luck. So that's the difficulty. And this profession is all about who you know. It's all about connections and who can connect dots for you. And so that's the difficulty is just getting work because there is no unity in that. There is no help. You're on your own, and that's why you sometimes go from agent to agent to agent. Um, you're one of 1,000 in their agency, and you're lucky if you get picked for something that really fits your talent or your niche or your look. And you're always out there hustling, 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 and it gets exhausting after a while. And a lot of actors, just artists in general, not that we're insecure, but we have insecurities, and we express ourselves through our art. But if we don't get that medium to do that in, then you start the little voices in your head start to you know, worm their way into your confidence, and then you kind of just don't want to go out and want to sit in the dark room. So it's very psychologically wearing to be an artist, especially in America, because like I said before, we don't appreciate the arts here. We don't invest in them. We don't encourage them. But yet everybody wants to go see a movie. you know, Everybody wants to watch something on a streaming service. Those are all actors. Those are all performers. Um, so in a way, we do support it from a capitalistic point of view, but we don't nurture it from the very beginning and set it up so that you do have a pathway. Like if you were a doctor, a lawyer, a CPA, even a nurse, or even a teacher, you do have a pathway to get there. But as an artist, whether you're a writer or an actor, a dancer, a singer. There's really no that those support systems really aren't there. So
No,
that's what's made it very difficult.
I can relate to you, especially if you want to be in the entertainment world, or you have a disability and you want to be like a podcast. I consider myself a talk show host. A lot of people like to
Yeah.
correct me. You're not a talk show host, you're a podcaster. But regardless, there's no support system. But yes, we need doctors, we need teachers. But if you want to do something, right, you're really passionate about, you pretty much have to throw shit against the wall and say, I have to go and jump through hoops. So it would be nice if there was just a college, like a university, like, I don't know, Potsdam or Plattsburgh or Orienta or whatever university you want to call it, just meant for acting. Think about it. People want to be actors, right? So why not have or not, yeah, I guess a
Like the
university,
Royal Academy in England, a lot of other countries do it better than we do. Or
right?
that if you are a university, all universities that offer the dramatic arts, they have agents that are attached to them so that their graduates can get work either in their senior year to build up their resume and then help them with just like an athlete, right? Just like a college football player to get them into the NFL or whatever. We should have the same thing for every single university and college that offers the dramatic arts. It's progression into a career. We do that with the vocational, careers. Like if you're going to air conditioning or be a mechanic or be a massage therapist, there are associations and networks that you graduate into and they help you get work. We don't do that in the arts. So I agree with you. I think every university, every college that offers dramatic arts or anything in the arts, whether you're a singer, a dancer, whatever, that there is some type of career assistants where they help you get work. Yeah,
And that doesn't
I
even
agree.
just means college and universities, high schools too, for that matter.
Absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
get people invested in their future.
That's why I put the nonprofit together. Wow Charities. That's one of the reasons why I put that together was because I noticed as an artist myself, I struggled to find work. Um, so I thought if it's just it can't be just me. And then I have friends in the art, and in South Florida they have to go to California and New York to get work in Florida. And I thought, why should you have to leave to get work where you once lived? That doesn't make
Right.
sense. You should, like, if you live in LA, you can get work in LA. If you work in New York, you can get work in New York. But if you work in Florida, it's breadcrumb. You cannot live off of it. It's very difficult to work in the arts here in Florida and make enough for it to be a livable wage. And it is not cheap to live in South Florida. It is very expensive.
Well, let
And
me, oh, go
go ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, so with that said, it would be nice, like you were saying, if there was that built into education of the arts, that you do have that launching pad, if you will, that gives you a fighting chance. And especially today, there was so much out there and so many opportunities, so many independent films. There's all these streaming services with all these programs, and more is coming. So they need actors. It's not like there isn't a need. But it would be nice if the dots could be connected. It really would be. But unfortunately, that doesn't exist. So it does that to go back to your original question. Yes, that's what makes it hard, whether you're a writer, an actor, a singer, a dancer, whatever you are in the arts. It is difficult to make a living. I think the statistics are like 1% of all those that are part of SAG and AFTA actually work. 99% of us are unemployed.
Well,
And
you
that's one
bring
of the
up a
reasons
good
why.
point. Let me ask you this. You did say we need actors, and that's absolutely true. But how do you feel about AI, and do you think people are going to abuse the crap out of it? Because it's cheaper to animate someone than actually having a human person in there. So the question is, how is AI going to affect writing in the entertainment world?
It's going to hopefully it can go either way. I hope it will be used as a positive tool to enhance. I believe, from my understanding of AI, you still need to have a model template to create characters and also with the voice. And with that said, so royalties, some type of syndication rights should be built into that for the actor so that they can live off of their images and their voices once they've given that to be a template. I would hope it would be used positively, not to replace us, like robots on an assembly line at a car plant making cars. So I'm hoping that that is what's used to enhance what we are. I think it's interesting. Like I've seen some of the Star Wars iterations where they actually show like a younger Han Solo or a younger Luke Skywalker, but it's based on the actor, and that they still get paid for that. And every time it's used or in a game or something like that. So that's what I mean by let's use it as a positive tool to create longevity in a career where you can work smarter, not harder, with your image and your voice and still receive payment for that, as you duly should. Just like singers, when they make a song, every time that song is used, they get a royalty from that. Same thing with us actors, whether we're voice actors or, in live actors, if we lend ourselves to this technology and our images and voices are being used, we should get a royalty every time that image and or voice is used in a production. So that's my hope.
That's an interesting point. But you actually, well, you brought up Star Wars. I actually thought about doing the Flash movie. It was horrible. The only good thing about it was Michael Keaton, but otherwise it was a piece of crap. I did like
Mm.
Supergirl, even though the movie was still garbage. But, well, on the silver lining, you mentioned the whole AI thing and CGI. What about when they used CRISPR reads and Helen Slater? I mean, that was pretty cool. See CRISPR reads back on a big screen, but it was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
creepy at the same time that you're
Yeah.
take advantage of the dead. I mean, yes, he will always be Superman, but
Yeah.
there's a
For a
fine
certain
line
generation.
when there's a fine line with CGI where you shouldn't really cross it.
That's where the ethics and the morals of how we use AI, and also with the family, the estate. Some estates want that image to live on, like I Love Lucy and Desi Arnaz. They want that to live on to the next generation. So if it's used correctly and for that purpose, I'm all for it. Why do we talk about Julius Caesar and Cleopatra? It's because of the statues and the image and the stories that are still told about them. I'm sure if you were the son of Christopher Reeve, you would like to have that passed on when you're gone. We're only as good as the memories of the people that we leave behind. That's our legacy. I was just having this conversation with my brother because we're going into our ancestry. We're only third generation American, Irish, English, and we're looking into our ancestry, and we are struggling to find out information about our great grandparents. And that's only what, two or three generations away, and we don't know that. Well, imagine actors and performers that in their generation were well known, but in 2 to 3 generations they're going to be forgotten. So AI might be a way of keeping that alive and their talent alive, like the Three Stooges. I mean, in my classrooms, I use a lot of analogies, and I'll talk about, we're like, remember on the Golden Girls, and I get blank stares. Who are the Golden Girls? I'm like, what do you mean you don't know who the Golden Girls are? No, you have no idea. I'll mention something about Lost in Space, and I'm talking about the reboot that was just on Netflix, and they're like, who? No, I don't know that show. So even, you see how fleeting certain things are, like The Wizard of Oz and the 1939 edition of The Women. All those shows are going to be forgotten unless something comes along, like those actors, to keep them relevant as we move forward. So I hope Judy Garland will never be forgotten. Liza Minnelli will never be forgotten. Jimmy Stewart will never be forgotten. But unless we find clever ways to keep up with the entertainment medium that we use, they will be forgotten. Who knows? In science fiction movies, you see everyone is on holograms. They're holographic three-dimensional images. They don't have flat two-dimensional images. Well, you've got, if we're going to keep that alive, if that's where we're going to go, we got to convert all that over. We've got to convert movies and, performances into that format so the generations can view them and appreciate them. I was watching The View the other day, and Donny Osmond came on, and he's using AI to create a 14-year-old version of himself so he and himself can sing Puppy Love in his show in Vegas. And that's his attitude. I want to use AI positively so that the next generation knows who I am and I'm still relevant. I mean, that's what we're trying to do as artists. We always want to stay relevant. That's how we perpetuate ourselves and, creates a means of income. So when you become irrelevant, you become forgotten, and then you're lost. I mean, that's why a lot of artists are always reinventing themselves. Madonna, Cher, Bette Midler, they're always reinventing themselves to stay relevant with each new generation and to build a legacy. And AI might be a way of doing that, like a time capsule that relives so that the next generation can enjoy it and view it and appreciate it. And so I'm all for it if it's, again, done in the right way. Yes, I don't believe you should pirate something or, do anything that would smear or make that actor or that performance or that movie or whatever that medium is come off wrong than its original intention. So if it's done correctly, I think it's a brilliant idea. I mean, heck, I would love to have my image saved. Are you kidding? I would love to be able to be remembered beyond my nieces and my nephews. I think every artist wants that legacy. That's one of the reasons why we do the art, storytellers, so that the stories that we tell are remembered. I mean, there's a reason why we remember Beowulf. I mean, how old is Beowulf? But we remember it, So,
Well,
or
let
you
me
know what I'm
ask you
saying?
this. With everything that you did, and you mentioned you're also a teacher, so this is actually a good subject for you. How
Hmm.
has the pandemic impacted your life, and do you see life in a different point of view?
Well, actually, being an introvert, I didn't mind the lockdown. Actually, I enjoyed being home, and I finished 3 manuscripts. I finished 2 plays. My house was never cleaner, and I was able to focus on me. I didn't work for that. Was the negative was that I went through a lot of my savings. I lost a lot of money because I really wasn't working, and what little work I could get up until we got the online teaching thing up and running, which took a while. Um, but we were on the online platform, I enjoyed teaching online. Like this, way we're doing our interview, I don't mind it. I like it actually. I'm not, I don't get turned off by that at all. You know what I mean? So I was okay with it. In fact, it was funny. It was like we were teaching online for like a year or so, and there was murmurs that we were going to go back into a live classroom. And I said, you know what? If I never have to do this in person again, I would be happy. Really, I enjoyed the online platform and the online life. Um, and the pandemic, as disgusting as it was, and as how preventable it could have been, um, there was no litter. Wildlife came back. There was no noise pollution. I kind of liked it. I did miss my friends, and I'm dating someone, so I miss being with them. Yeah, there were those down parts of it, but overall, it gave, I think, a lot of people a chance to relax, exhale, take a nap, and really look at what's important and look at the toxic capitalistic society we really live in and how most workers are treated like, cogs in a wheel and you are replaceable. And I think it gave us a moment to say, no, I'm not. I am a living, breathing human being. And I live so I work so I can live. I don't live to work. I am not
Right.
a cog in your wheel, right? And I think it gave a lot of people a chance to step back and realize their worth and go, I'm working way too hard to be this poor. And whenever then the engine started to run again, a lot of the cogs said, I'm worth more than what you're paying me. And if you can't afford to pay me, maybe you shouldn't have a company because you
And
have how many homes? You have how many
that's
cars? You go on vacations? And I can't do that. That's not right. Your wealth is you're built on my back, my sweat, and I sacrifice and you don't. At some point, you got to give back. We've
no, I
lost that
agree with
ability in
you.
this country to give back to the worker, because you hear a lot. Well, it's my dream, my initial money, and it's mine, 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 mine. And it reminds me of Daffy Duck and Aladdin's cave. Remember that cartoon Bugs Bunny, when Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck wound up in Aladdin's cave? And they were going to Pebble Beach, and they should have made a left at Albuquerque. And Bugs wants to leave, and Daffy's enamored by all the money, and he's like, "It's mine, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine." And that's what we've become in this country. That companies feel they own you. If you have a salary, they own you. There's no live work balance. It takes 3 incomes to barely exist in this country anymore. The value of the dollar is plummeted. No one has. That's why I think there's very little to give over to the arts, unfortunately. But we're all in survival mode, and it's all to benefit the 1%. And
Well, unfortunately, with Musk and Trump, it's only going to get worse.
well, that's the plan. The plan is to break the United States. That is the plan. If you read Project 2025 and you looked at Agenda 47, they are doing everything that they ran on. So there are no surprises here, but that's why they were hired by a foreign government. That's why everybody's going along with it as we're being dismantled, because we are going to be Russia 2.0, comrade. That is the plan. I mean, that's not a conspiracy. It is actually happening in real time, day by day. We are watching executive orders going through, and Congress is not saying, wait a minute, you can't do that. That has to go through us first. And they're not doing that. They're allowing everything to happen as we become dismantled as the country that we were. That has been the plan for a very long time. My lifetime, since Nixon, Reagan. They've been slowly dismantling and eviscerating the middle class. Yet we bear the brunt of funding and running this country. Yet the corporations that we work for, actually, that make these huge profits that could do that instead of us, have slowly had their tax reconfigured so they don't have to. Um, I'm a product of the 60s and the 70s when corporations paid like, what, 70%? Sorry, I had this motion detector light. 70% of the tax base, and everybody else paid about 30%. And we were productive, and that's why we were the leader in the world. That's why education-wise, we were number one. We were number one on so many levels. And then when that changed shortly after the 70s, going into the 80s, where it's flipped, you didn't have time for education. And that's even when student loans changed, where they became for profit. And it was about making money off your dreams. That's when student loan debt became toxic, and it was more about the interest that you were paying off. You never got to the principal. It could take you 30 years just to get to the principal, and then another 10 to 15 years to actually pay off the principal. So you spend a lifetime as an indentured laborer to student loan debt, just because you wanted to get a better education to better this country, and you were actually penalized for that. So that all began to change in the 80s, and here we are. But that's been the mission of a very particular party, as they have changed their philosophy to become that. And unfortunately, a lot of their followers, because they are loyal people, they just refuse to see it, because they're like in a bad marriage. And they can't believe that their partner has become somebody else.
People don't want things to change. They say they want to, but they really don't want to.
Well, yeah, and I guess it's how you're raised. I was raised in a very conservative family, but we were realistic. Change is the only constant in the universe. If you don't believe in change, look in the mirror and then hold up a picture of when you were a teenager. You have changed. Change is the only thing that happens. Look at the 4 seasons. Change happens every day around you. So if you don't progress and you don't change, that regression to stagnation, which leads to death. And that course that we're on. There is change. It's the pace at which you change things. Because like I said, I was raised a conservative. Yes, you can change things, but let's do it in the right way, slowly, progressively, so that everyone benefits. Let's not take a chainsaw or a hatchet and hatch everything down for the change. Let's do it slow and steady so that everyone benefits. That was one of the flaws in the Reaganomics when they did what they did to the economy with the tariffs and everything, and the steel mill crashed, and the car manufacturing crashed, the screw and bolt companies crashed. Everybody was unemployed in that area. They were living in their cars, committing suicide. It was horrible. I lived through it. You could have done that better by doing it slowly and re-educating people into a new way of doing things instead of just doing it overnight. Kind of what's happening now. You can change things. Education is a big part of that. But for some reason, again, in this country, we don't respect education.
That's true. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. We'll wrap it up now. But you have a couple questions off the air, but I want you to be brutally honest. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now?
Well, I did because of how you framed it, that you have learning disabilities and you like to uplift people, and of course you support the performing arts, and I kind of ticked off all those boxes. Like I said, I have 2 learning disabilities, and I also like to lift up people. That's why I worked in the fitness industry for 30 years. I was a clinical exercise physiologist. I was a yoga instructor. I did all that because again, I was raised in the 60s and 70s where you give back. I have a communal responsibility as a human being. I'm not here to take things. I'm a steward. We are here to support each other. And that's embedded in my DNA. So when I saw that was what your show was about, I thought, well, and you asked me to be honest, well, I think I can contribute to that because that's my life philosophy. That's, I think, another reason why I went into education as a teacher. I'm here to help the next generation to help their dreams come true. It was kind of done to me, and when I was younger, I was very fortunate to have a dramatic teacher and an English teacher who helped open some doors for me. Unfortunately, the AIDS crisis eliminated all those connections and everybody I knew. But at least I had that little bit of help, and it was because of 2 teachers.
Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. About wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. This interview will be shared on all social medias. Our goal is to reach 500 to 1,000 views. So if you're watching, leave a comment, like, subscribe. Make sure you follow the fan page of the Keith Andrew Network that's available on Facebook. Make sure to like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. I know it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. So until we meet again, catch you later. Thank you, and have a good night. Show and supporting me. My message
get you all that